Begin with the posture. Imagine that there is a vast mesa stretching horizontally in all directions. A perfect horizontal plane. And now allow the area beneath the torso, that is the pelvic floor, the legs and the feet, to merge entirely with this mesa. It's in this sense then that the base of support is grounded, rooted, established, totally secure. And at the same time, completely natural. And now imagine a beautiful golden rod that's stretching indefinitely along a y-axis. With that extraordinary golden rod behind you. And then slowly allow it to come forward as it creeps along an imaginary x-axis until this rod or pole perfectly merges with the spine. Notice how this encourages the spine to grow longer, to be lighter. And so here the posture is at a most wondrous crossroad. A vast horizontal plane and a north-south pole emanating with light. And let that light, like the sweetest nectar, slowly fall over, wash around and through the head, transforming the head thereby into light. Notice as it transforms the neck and slowly all of both arms into light. Watch with bated breath as this nectar-like light flows down and through the entire midsection. And in so doing, the midsection itself becomes light. And so does the base. Everything from the pelvic floor through the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, ankles, and feet. So what we're left with is light. We're now ready to explore something most wondrous together. No doubt, frequently there's been an experience all of us have had, and it's the experience of being fidgety. I can't seem to sit still. I'm itching in my skin to move. I must do something. Indeed, perhaps I must always be doing something. My hands, my feet, my thoughts can never be idle. Why is that? Why can't I seem to stop and just be still? One reason is that I take myself to be an entity that's moving in space and through time. Yet, so long as I take myself to be an entity moving through space, time, just so long shall I be in a state of dis-ease, of trembling, of agitation. Nor will I, just so long as that's the case, ever know who I am. Therefore, there are three assumptions in play. One, that I am an entity. Two, that space exists. And three, that time exists. Together, let us look very deeply at the latter two conceptions. begin with a few short exercises. So allow the hand to move freely out in front at your own pace. So initially, allow there to be the conception, my hand is moving through space-time. During the course of this exercise, you can always switch hands whenever that's necessary. So it can really feel as if there is this weighty hand that is mine, and that I'm conducting it through space and time. Now let go of all those conceptions, namely that it's my hand moving through space and time. And just focus on the actual, that is to say, direct experience. Allow the movement to be soft and gentle and natural. Could it be that there are just little minnows, so to speak, little sparkles of flickering sensations moving in space and time while I remain still, motionless, unmoving? Could it be that it's like a school of fish twinkling in the midday sun while I remain unmoving? Is that possible? Is it possible that there's just a poetry of scintillating sensations? Is it possible that I'm not involved? That is, that I go nowhere. Sink back into this sense of being that which is merely looking on, that sense of going nowhere. And let the hands fall down. Now, very slowly, gently, caringly, and carefully, allow the neck to swivel a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left at your own pace. Initially, it may feel as if I am moving, as if there is some entity that's sweeping through space and time. But see whether it's possible to relax and to open to the possibility that sensations, like a school of fish, are twinkling this way and that way while I remain the background awareness. Could that really be so?
Night.
Could it be the case that there are sensations felt while I, unfeeling, abide as awareness? Notice what the difference is like. There is movement, yet I am unmoving. There is play, but I am just beyond it. There is spontaneity, but I am neither spontaneous nor calculating. Now you can relax the head and, of course, also the arms. And notice what this understanding right now is like. What is this state of relaxed openness? That was just an amuse-bouche, an aperitif, a first course. Now we must consider whether outside of the mind, that is, outside of thought, space, time exists. Now, what is our concept of space? It is that it is some volume that is around the body mind or out in front. Without the use of thought, that is, without the use of memory, can you discover a height in direct experience? Can you discover a length in your present direct experience? Can you discover a width? In fact, can you discover or find any point that is here as well as any point that is there? In fact, can you discover any points at all? Notice that the mind, I said, without the use of thought, that is, without the use of concepts, may posit an image of a point or a sketchy image of a here or a there. So try again. Without the use of any thoughts, any memories, any concepts, any mental picturing, do you see in your direct experience any points? Right here, is there a here or a there? Now, there may seem as if there is one, so we need to go one step further. That is, without using the memory of the body as your point of reference, without any such point of reference, right now, can you find a here or a there in your direct experience? Notice what this is like. Without a point of reference and without any here or any there, does space even exist? And if space doesn't exist, then how can I move at all, let alone through it? How could I even be such as to move? What sense would it even make to say that I moved 1 foot or 1 mile if there is no foot or mile to speak of? Who's moving and in what? Needless to say, if space does not exist, then time does not exist. But let's look at the matter more closely anyway. Without the use of thought, can you discover right now a before or an after? How long has this meditation been going on for? Notice that that yields a thought. Therefore, without any thoughts, specifically without memory, can you discover right now a before, a meanwhile, or a punctual now, and an after? Notice that the mind may try to put something forward, i.e., thought may arise. Allow that thought to subside without any concepts whatsoever, without any such conceptual shortcuts or cheats. I'm asking you right now, can you find any sense of time? Indeed, of time unfolding or of time passing? Let's press our case even more strongly, because you may be holding on again to a point or frame of reference, as if there is some kind of I entity positioned right here that's nonetheless sweeping through time. Let go of that presupposition, that is, of that thought, and simply ask yourself the question, without any concepts and without a point of reference, is there any experience whatsoever of time passing? Just dive deep right here, right now. If time, perchance, does not exist, except insofar as it is a construct, then how on earth could I possibly move? How could I be an agent, a doer, some entity moving through space, through time? Without space, without time, without thought, is there any sense of movement at all? Who could even be here to be fidgety in the first place? How could there even be a distinction between stillness and movement when there is only nowness and here-ness? That is to say, only presence, aware presence. And if there's only aware presence, then how could a desire even get off the ground? Here where I am, here-ness. Now where I stand, nowness. There is no takeoff and there is no landing. There is nothing visible and there is nothing audible. There are no touches, no smells, and no tastes. There are no feelings, and there are no concepts or notions. And since there is no desire, how could there be any movement? Though this state, not the final one, but close to it, essentially has no name, as a compassionate act, Nisargadatta calls it, I am. But don't go holding on to that. Just be. Just sweetly be. It's as if without doing anything, you were drinking up I am. What's it like to be filled to the brim? It is natural. It is fecund. It is powerful. It is easeful. It is almost like an ache without being achy. Let the nameless absolute for our purposes today be called God. Then what is it like for God to pass through I am and to reveal God's self to the world? What is it like for God to appear as perceptible form, as a form apprehensible by the senses? Gently allow the eyes to open. What is visual perception like? It is to see God in form. And what is it to see God in perceptible form? It is to experience beauty. It is the sense that every form, you look to the left, below, straight ahead, to the right, wherever. It is to see every single form as being a trace of God, and therefore as being divinely beautiful. The floor is beautiful. The walls are beautiful. The errant objects, each in turn, are exquisitely beautiful. Nothing is untouched by the very source from which it comes and of which it is made. Right now, can you actually immediately apprehend that this, that this, that this is God in a form, just as a clay pot is made of the divine clay? Is there any visible form that is left out. Could there be anything misshapen or beyond the pale of the imprint of the divine essence? When perceived and understood rightly, that is, from the point of view of eternity, every single visible form is immediately redeemed. And close your eyes. And isn't it also true that every sound you hear is redeemed in as much as it is essentially the voice of God? Hearing thereby is sweet. Every single sound is melodious. A screech, a siren, an alarm, from the point of view that is inflected by the divine source, is just as redolent, just as sonorous, just as evocative as the most beautiful poetry. The sound of the breath, as much as the sound of the voice, is suffused with the essence of God. And here too, nothing is left out. So that from this understanding, the world of forms is all a glory, all filled with the divine, and thus is singing the divine. Indeed, every single form so apprehended is a hierophany. That is a sign of the manifestation of God in and as this particular form. And nothing could be left out. We have a word for all that has been described and apprehended. And that word is beauty. And when God, through I amness, appears in sentient beings, we likewise have a word for that. That is love. If there's another sentient being around you right now, go ahead and open your eyes and look. What is it that you are seeing? Are you seeing some other being? Or are you seeing I am thou? The I amness that is expressing itself in two forms that nonetheless are in essence fundamentally the same. It's as if I am were to say, I am thou, I am you, and you are I. And what is that deep, intimate understanding but love? In you I see myself. And in you I know myself. Which is to say, in you I see the face of God. Would this understanding be pervasive? Is it possible that every sentient being is inscribed with the very signature of the Lord? Could it be that one is only ever meeting the concretization of I am? That is, only ever meeting myself. Imagine a loved one. This is God in form. Picture another loved one. This too is God in form, is the face, another face of God. See now a friend. This one too, the face of God. Imagine an acquaintance or a neighbor. This too, the face of God. Recall one you met years prior or can scarcely remember. Perhaps this one is almost a blur. That inky blur is also and just as much the face of God. Animated, conscious presence in this shape. Imagine someone you have slightly disliked. This one too is God in form. God as this form. God playing this part. Imagine someone you have deeply hated. This one being a rival or an enemy. This one too is not beyond the pale or out of reach. Rather, he or she is the face of God. Can you fathom this? Namely, that all human beings are expressions of God, are God in this or that form. Continue rather the inquiry. Every single sentient being from bacteria on up, every single insect, every single fish, every single living being is God in form. We have a word for this intuitive, extraordinary, deep, yet simple understanding. That word is love. In fact, it is the proper meaning of self-love, or the self, source, or God, ultimately only loves itself. I ultimately, and so far as I am, the source, only love myself. In this stillness, beyond stillness, there is relaxed, open presence. When the senses come online, there is the apprehension of beauty. And when the heart is completely open in the presence of sentient life, there is only love. Contrast the difference between being restless and fidgety with trying through ignorance to be a mover through space and time with the clear-sighted apprehension of the beautiful, as well as the open-hearted embrace of the love of all life. I stabilize in peace, the peace that is at the doorstep of God. When the senses open, my eye and ear and all the rest delight in the symphony of forms. And as the heart opens, there is, without question and without doubt and without sentimentality, only love. A love that is not an experience, but rather is the very heart of being.